Weekly Hijack.
Hello, everybody. Hello, world.
So this is take 3. We actually had some recording trouble tonight. Maybe it's because this is our first Doctor Who episode.
Dun, dun, dun.
So who knows what the reasons for that is. But
who does know the reason for that?
I guess.
The Shadow.
The Shadow knows. But we're not going to take that as a deterrent. We're going to soldier on through because we like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And Nick, you've been watching Doctor Who since
the beginning.
The very beginning, before anyone really knew what it was.
Well, I mean, they knew it, but yeah, it wasn't the big American, everyone must watch it or else.
Yes.
Like, you don't watch Doctor Who? What are you doing?
You're not a true pop culture person if you don't watch Doctor Who anymore.
Anyway, before this season, I heard an interview with Moffat saying that it was going to be more, they were trying to be more epic this season, a lot more two-parters and cliffhangers, and this episode certainly showed that the style was very different. I mean, it felt like they were pulling all the stops out.
It felt like a season finale episode, like right out of the gate. And it was like, wait, whoa, Davros? That was the first one.
Not to mention it was dipping deep into Whovian continuity right from the get-go.
This is true. I suppose we should introduce Nathan Marchand is guesting for tonight. So there's one more person in the living room for tonight. But yeah, Davros, and then I was not expecting Missy in that
to show up.
I knew she would be in it.
Well, I thought I'd heard she was going to be in this season. I didn't realize she would be
like scene 3.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, lots of surprises.
And normal Moffat. Let's just throw how many ideas we can put in one episode and just see how many of them can gel together or not. It doesn't matter.
No, the way he works is that he throws in a bunch of ideas into one episode, and only one of them is the actual focus. The rest are just details. They could be a whole episode by themselves.
Yeah, he has way too many ideas. He's just like, let's do it, and I love that because it's insane. There's a certain insanity that's wonderful.
Someone figures out how to make all the airplanes on Earth stop. Instead of making that the episode, that's just a means for Missy to get the Doctor's attention.
That's just a teaser.
Prologue.
I have to say, the creepiest image of the night, the hand mines.
The hand mines.
That was... I mean, the hand with the eyeball thing is... I still have bad vibes from that. From
Pan's Labyrinth, yeah.
Yes. But a whole field of them, that's terrifying.
It's just crazy. Yeah, it's just so many... Yeah, it's just nuts. It's like... We threw like four books together and came up with this 50-minute episode.
Now, the name of this episode was The Magician's Apprentice, which we talked beforehand. It's a kind of confusing title. I'm not really sure if the Doctor is the magician, which he talked in a
There's a little prequel 10-minute thing we watched too.
Minisode.
He compared himself to a magician. He was doing tricks, but
he's been referred to as Merlin in the past.
True, but he didn't really even. He didn't act, and no one really referred to him as a magician in this. He was just kind of,
and then is it
just a rock star? What do they call him?
The guy he kept calling an idiot called him the magician.
True. Okay, so I guess he did mention it. I wonder though if, I guess you could say the magician's apprentice is Clara. If the magician in that case could be either the Doctor or Missy. I mean, she did just kind of stop planes in the air and then called it a parlor trick. So it's
an odd
ambiguous.
Title. Yeah, I wonder if it'll play off or just it's a weird title.
Well, they don't use the same title for the multi-part episodes though.
Well, true. I mean,
so next week we'll have a different title.
Yeah, that
will maybe reflect this episode, and this episode will reflect next episode.
Maybe. But the couple things. I mean, I like Capaldi. It was interesting because he was doing very. I mean, they make a point of he's just acting weird this episode. He's trying to prepare to.
Oh.
I mean, he's out of character.
Capaldi.
This is the first time I have watched a Capaldi episode where I liked his Doctor for the entire episode. Because I was just telling you guys, I got started properly thanks to Nick over here on the new series. He started me with the first episode. I liked Eccleston inside of 5 minutes. I was difficult to transition because it was the first time I had to transition, but I ended up loving Tennant after about 1 or 2 episodes. So it did take a little bit of time. Loved Matt Smith inside of 5 minutes when I thought I would hate him. Yeah. And Capaldi, it took Capaldi an entire season for me to actually get endeared to him. I don't know if that will last, but he's taken the absolute longest for me to like.
Yeah.
So I give them credit. I actually liked him for a whole episode because before last season, it would just be I would like him for moments at a time.
Well, he wasn't quite his cantankerous self in here,
Which I really appreciate.
Well, I mean, it was funny. Clara was like, "This isn't you, at least not the current you." And he's like, "I used to wear bow ties and long scarves. Cut me some slack. I'm throwing the party for what do you say?
All of me.
All of me.
All of me are invited."
Yeah. So when he said that, I kept thinking, are we going to try to have some insane special effects guest stars showing up here? Because that would be too epic to handle.
Yeah, not yet, but...
And and Missy, I love her insanity. Her insanity cracks me up. I don't know.
See, I didn't for the longest time, I didn't like Missy, and I told you guys I was not the biggest fan of Missy. I did not like the idea that she's supposed to be a regeneration of the Master. I think, honestly, I did end up liking her a bit more here, mostly because I felt like she was acting more like John Sims' Master. From seasons, from the Tenet era.
Yeah.
I saw more John Sim.
It kind of reminded me of his unhingedness.
Yeah, it's still not the old school Master who was much more controlled. But at least it's something I recognize.
And this is far from old school Doctor Who. Although, interesting, Davros himself was interesting in here, even compared to the last time we saw Davros in the new series. The last time he was
Journey's End.
Yeah, season 4.
Yeah.
And that one,
that was an epic finale.
Very fun. But even in that one, Davros is kind of old school, like kind of cackle. Here, he's got this weariness to him. Like he just feels like an old man. You feel like you see these two old men hashing it out.
I gotta say this is probably the most nuanced I've seen Davros, because I've seen some of the old Davros episodes. So I was surprised that he came out that way.
I thought it was an interesting touch.
And there's a lot of stuff that is left unexplained. How is Missy back? Who's dead? And I'm willing to give it benefit of doubt for the season. Moffat do that.
I think that's a bad habit Moffat has developed, where it's just I don't explain anything. Here's one sentence to kind of write it off, or in this case it was twice, because two people asked Missy how she's still alive, and she just says,
who cares?
Death is for everybody else, or not dead anymore. Long story. I mean,
which I kind of enjoy. Like I'm in the same opinion. Like, who cares? It's sort of like the old show MacGyver. He had this one recurring character, Murdoch, that would wind up like seemingly dying each time, like falling off a cliff or through a pit or something like that. And then he'd reappear, and MacGyver would be like, "Wait, how'd you do that?" It was like, "Oh, I did." And he would give some like kind of lame, answer for how he survived. And the point is not that how did he do it. The point is that he's going to just kind of keep coming back. You don't want to not see him fight these guys.
It's very interesting, like in the Sherlock, when Sherlock dies one season, comes back the next, they never actually say how he did. They just say, look, here's some possibilities, and if it's possible, I don't need to explain it.
Which is another Moffat.
Exactly.
The thing is here, I think I'm more willing to accept a goofy answer like that, as opposed to, say, when Missy first showed up. Well, not first showed up, but when they first tried to explain how she got from... how she came to there compared to where the Master was at the end of time.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was massively underwritten. But here, it's just like, not that anymore. I mean, I'm more willing to accept that here than in the other case, which they tried to explain, but it was so underwritten that it just didn't work for me. But that's because they actually tried to give an explanation, and by trying to give an explanation, but not very much of one, I ended up not being able to accept it.
So what do we think about this ending? Where are we even going after this? Because
and when is that ending? At least the ending of him exterminating Davros, was that back in the flashback timeline we saw, or is that some other him changing his mind? Like when did that happen?
Yeah, that's
considering that it appeared that the TARDIS had been destroyed at that point.
Well, I can't fit when he's exterminating Davros. Obviously, he's left, but is it immediately after? Is it when he did his meditation? Then he decided he was going to go do it. Where in this timeline is all this happening? There's a lot of, and then Clara's not going to be dead. There's going to be some sort of magic trick.
It would be one of the most shocking companion deaths. Especially knowing that this is going to be her last season.
Yeah.
It would be kind of this this jolt of killing the companion off in the first episode, that'd be gutsy.
That would be.
It's I think it's very unlikely. But
I suspect it's just Moffat trying to troll the fans who want to hate on him and say he murders people more than Davies. But here's the thing, though. The whole episode is actually a very interesting callback to a classic Who episode.
Yeah. No, and
some say is the best episode of Doctor Who of any era, which is Genesis of the Daleks. And there's a callback to that because they actually show a clip from that episode on a view screen. And then, because in that one, the Doctor has traveled back to the war on Skaro right before the Daleks are created, and has the chance to keep them from ever being born, and he chooses not to. And here again, he's in the same sort of situation, except here he has the option to save Davros's life when he's a child.
Yeah. And I really like that callback. It's a nice. I mean, they even shows a clip that frames it in a very similar to the question about the killing a child thing, which they make it quite literal here. So I think it's very fertile ground to explore again.
And wasn't that a shock? We had no idea Davros was going to be in this. I knew Missy was, but so you get to that had to be one of the best openings I've seen in this show, where it's on a battlefield. You don't know what's going on. You just know the Doctor went there, apparently trying to find a bookstore. That's kind of funny. And you normally, when you see him, he's coming in, he's doing that cool Doctor thing. He's there. He's saving somebody. Yeah. As a kid, you're immediately invested in this kid surviving because he's innocent. And, you got the creepy hand mines, which, yeah. And then there's this bombshell that gets dropped right at the end where he asks the kid, he's telling him, you got a 1 in 1,000 chance, but that's all you need. And he's being very doctorish, and then it's, what's your name? And he says, my name is Davros. And it's just like, bam, right in the face.
Very strong intro. So I'm excited for this new series.
Yeah, it's going to have a very different feel than last season. I think that'll be interesting. Mm-hmm. I think. I mean, assuming this is a good sense of what the rest of the series would be.
I got to tell you, if this is an indication of what the rest of the season is going to be, I am more excited for this than I was last year. I can tell you that.
They threw S.H.I.E.L.D. in. Not S.H.I.E.L.D., sorry, wrong thing.
Unit.
wrong show. Though if Coulson showed up, I'd be all for that. But
I did see a meme one time. It was called Things I Want Coulson to Say, and it was something like, we need to go contact a doctor who works with our buddies in Unit or something. Yeah. It was hilarious.
But yeah, I think, it was a very strong, I wasn't expecting this sort of episode at all, honestly.
No.
I was expecting you
get show, everything. You got the Daleks, you got Davros, you have
the Doctor playing guitar.
The Master, I guess you could say, and Clara's come back, Unit. I mean, it's just, it really is everything but the kitchen sink. I think you guys joked about that in the previous take.
Fun stuff. All right, so tune in next time, of course, for the next episode. See where Capaldi goes next.
Yep.
Until then, this is Tim.
This is Nick.
Bye-bye.